Hi guys, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss some very important idioms. So without wasting any time, let's get started. The first and the most common idiom that we come across is a hot potato. So what does it mean, guys? It means something that is difficult or dangerous to deal with. Or you can say something that is hard or terrible to handle. Or maybe it's a controversial topic. To put it more easy, to make it more easy, it's kind of a controversial situation, and that's awkward to deal with, very controversial, right? Or maybe a something delicate matter which many people do not want to talk about or maybe have different opinion on. So let's come up with a sentence. Okay, let's say I talk about myself. I'll say I never discuss about anyone's religion. It can be a hot potato. Or I can say the government's decision to curb benefits to some sections of society is like a hot potato. And do you know where does this come from? Where does this originate from? It's actually derived from an older term, which is to drop like a hot potato, which means to abandon, to leave something or someone quickly. So it basically makes us understand that cooked potatoes retain considerable heat because they contain a lot of water. So let's move on to the next one. And the next idiom is a penny for your thoughts. So guys, this means, it has a meaning to it, which means a way of asking what someone is thinking. So, for example, let's say I'm having a session with you guys and I ask you, you have been quiet for a while. A penny for your thoughts? Or maybe I say, after several minutes of silence, he finally looked at her and said, a penny for your thoughts. So it's a way of asking what someone else is thinking. Or maybe a request to somebody who lost in the considerable, who's there in a conversation and you want to know about his or her thoughts. So it's used for wanting to know what other person is thinking. Usually because they have not spoken for a while. You seem pretty serious. A penny for your thought or thoughts? Okay, let's move on to the next one. It is actions speak louder than words. It means what you do is more significant than what you say. Here, guys, it also means doing is better than just speaking. It's better to do something rather than just talk. So, what you do carries more weight than what you say. A good leader does not tell his team how things should be done. He shows them. After all, actions speak louder than words. So, let's move on to the next one. It's add insult to injury. It basically means to make a bad situation worse. It also means to further hurt the feelings of someone who has already been hurt. Or maybe to worsen an uncomfortable and unfavorable situation. For example, I'll say, first the bathroom flooded, and then to add insult to injury, a tap started leaking. Or I'll say, first they lost the match, and then To add insult to injury, one of the players was suspended for cheating. So I think that's quite interesting. Or maybe you can say his brother not only sold off all his property, but to add insult to injury, he refused to pay him anything from the proceeds. Let's move on to the next one. An arm and a leg. Now, it basically means a lot of money, something that costs you a lot of money or something that's very expensive. Or a very large amount of money is required for it. Or maybe you can, just to put it this way, you can say it costs a fortune. So, let's talk about the sentence. Like, look at this person. He's like, this dress is lovely, but it cost me an arm and a leg. Or you can say, I would have loved to go with my friends on vacation, ma'am, but it would have cost me an arm and a leg. Or the third sentence, the show is excellent, but the tickets cost an arm and a leg. Moving on to the next one, at the drop of a hat. It means immediately, without any hesitation. So when you do something, you don't think a lot about it. Just at the slightest signal that you get. So immediately, without delay, or without any planning, or for no obvious reason, you're always ready for it. Let's have a look at this girl. I mean, definitely it means that she was always ready to go shopping at the drop of a hat. Or just to say, if you need help, just call me. I'll come at the drop of a hat. Or you can say, we now have a situation where laws are bent, they are amended at the drop of a hat. And you know what the interesting thing is? People file lawsuits at the drop of a hat these days. Alright guys, the next one is back to the drawing board. Yes, it's not the drawing board that you use. So it basically means start something all over again. Back to the planning stage. Or back to the beginning because the current attempt wasn't very successful. Or maybe after the failure of an attempt, you start things all over again. For example, if our proposal is not accepted, we'll go back to the drawing board. My experiment was a failure, so I'm back to the drawing board. Or you can say, I think we should go back to the drawing board with our design and try to make it better this time. Right, guys? Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is the ball is in your court. It means it's up to you to take the next step. Now you are in possession, you are in power, and the action needs to be taken at your end. So the initiative for taking actions when it lies with someone, or the responsibility of taking action lying with someone, or it can also mean it refers to the person who is responsible for making the next move. It could be related to an activity, to a game, to an incident, or maybe an event. For example, we did what we could, and now the ball is in your court. Or I'll say, I think I've done more than enough to come up with this amazing video. Now, the ball is in your court, guys. Or I'll say, his family and friends have requested him to apologize to his boss to save his job. And the ball is in his court now. You know what? The concept, this idea came from the symbol ball, which is like a sports game, like used in sports world. It could be anything, a tennis or a basketball. So it shows the ball being thrown around and the person who is there in the court has the responsibility to throw it off to the other side. I mean, it also hints towards getting rid of the ball as early, as quickly as possible and move on to the next task. Okay, guys, that brings us to the next one, which is barking up in the wrong tree. It means waste one's effort by pursuing the wrong thing or the wrong path. Or maybe to make a wrong choice. Or take a wrong approach to something. Or make a mistake, with the assumption that you're trying to achieve something, but you're going in the wrong direction. For example, if you think you will solve the problem by following those steps, you're barking up the wrong tree. Or I should say, I think they are barking up the wrong tree by focusing on the problems they have. They should focus on the solutions instead. Or let's say, the police were barking up the wrong tree by trying to prove that person guilty. He was nowhere near the crime scene. So this phrase, it originated in USA to talk about hunting dogs barking under a tree where they mistakenly think the prey is hiding. So that's from where we get to know about it. Okay, the next is, and the last one is, be glad to see the back of. So it means be glad to see someone leave. It can also mean that you're so happy that you don't have to deal with the same person and the person has left. Or, it's just used when an unpleasant experience ends. You're pleased when someone leaves or when something ends because you did not like it. You did not like them. For example, after my boss made my life difficult for years, he finally left the company. I was glad to see the back of him. Or you can say, when he is angry, I love to see the back of my dad. So guys, it is it for the day. In case you liked these idioms and would like to have more of them, please let me know. Thank you.